Captain Tom James stood tall on the bridge of the HSS Defiant, Earth's first and finest warship to join the Galactic Alliance. Through the massive viewscreen, he watched alien vessels drift by, each one at least 3 times larger than his ship. Their hulls gleamed with strange metals unknown to humans, adorned with weapons that made the Defiant's arsenal look like toys. "Captain, we're receiving transmission from the Alliance flagship," said Officer Wilson, his fingers dancing across the control panel. James nodded. "Put it through." The screen flickered, revealing the blue-skinned face of Commander Rex, the Alliance fleet commander. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the human bridge crew. "Captain James, welcome to the Alliance fleet," Rex said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into English. "We've assigned your vessel to the outer defensive ring. Given your ship's limitations, this seems most appropriate." James detected the dismissal in Rex's tone but kept his face neutral. "The Defiant is ready to serve where needed, Commander." Rex's upper eyes narrowed. "Indeed. Though I must say, when Earth joined our alliance, we expected something more impressive than this transport vessel you've modified for combat." Behind James, his crew stiffened at the insult. The Defiant might look simple compared to alien designs, but every human aboard knew its true capabilities. "Sometimes the simplest tools are the most effective, Commander," James replied calmly. Rex made a sound that the translator conveyed as laughter. "A charming Earth saying, no doubt. Unfortunately, space combat follows different rules than your primitive planetary skirmishes." The transmission ended before James could respond. He turned to his crew, seeing the anger in their eyes. "Let them laugh," he said quietly. "They don't know what humans can do yet." Lieutenant Park, his tactical officer, approached with a data pad. "Sir, I've completed my analysis of the Alliance fleet formation. Their tactics are predictable. They position ships by size and firepower with little regard for maneuverability." James nodded. "And their shields? Strong, but standardized. Every Alliance vessel uses the same frequency patterns. No variation or rotation schedules." "Exactly what our intelligence suggested," James said. "Any word on the enemy?" Officer Wilson looked up from his station. "Reports indicate Void Empire ships gathering near the Tarnis sector. Alliance commanders are dismissing it as a routine patrol." James frowned. "The Void Empire doesn't do routine patrols. Not that close to Alliance space." The bridge fell silent as James studied the tactical display. 20 Alliance ships, arranged in concentric circles around Commander Rex's flagship. The Defiant had been positioned so far out that it barely registered on the formation map. "Send our patrol data to Alliance Command," James ordered. "Tell them we've detected unusual energy signatures consistent with Void Empire pre-attack formations." Minutes later, the response came through: "Human theories on combat tactics noted but dismissed. Maintain position and observe Alliance protocol." Lieutenant Park shook her head. "They're not even going to check our data?" "They've never been attacked on their own territory," James replied. 300 years of peace makes for complacent commanders." A warning beacon suddenly flashed across their sensors. James straightened as Officer Wilson called out, "Multiple warp signatures detected. Void Empire configuration." The Alliance emergency channel burst to life with Commander Rex's voice: "All Alliance vessels, battle stations. Void Empire fleet detected. Form defensive positions." James watched the Alliance ships scramble to organize themselves, their movements slow and ritualistic, following protocols that hadn't changed in centuries. "Should we join formation, sir?" Lieutenant Park asked. James shook his head as he settled into his command chair. "No. Maintain current position and power down all non-essential systems. Let's watch how they fight first." "And then, sir?" Officer Wilson asked. A small smile touched the captain's lips as the first enemy ships appeared from warp. Then we'll show them how humans wage war. The void erupted with energy as the first wave of Void Empire ships tore through space. Dark, angular vessels with sharp edges and pulsing purple weapon ports faced the orderly formation of the Alliance fleet. Captain James counted 15 enemy ships, each bristling with weapons unlike any the Alliance used. Alliance fleet engaging, Officer Wilson reported as brilliant beams of light connected the two opposing forces. From the Defiant's position at the edge of the battle, James watched with a critical eye. The Alliance ships moved in perfect unison, their tactics textbook and predictable. They arranged themselves in a classic pincer formation, trying to envelope the Void Empire fleet. "They're fighting like it's a simulation," Lieutenant Park muttered, watching the tactical display. "The Empire is already adapting." She was right. The Void ships quickly recognized the Alliance pattern and countered by splitting their formation. 3 enemy vessels broke through the Alliance line, targeting the support ships in the rear. The Alliance comms channel filled with panicked orders and confused responses. James winced as he watched an Alliance cruiser explode under concentrated enemy fire. "Sir," Wilson called out, "Commander Rex is requesting all ships provide covering fire for his flagship. They're taking heavy damage." On the main screen, the Alliance flagship listed to one side, its shields flickering as multiple Void vessels focused their attack on it. 2 more Alliance ships exploded in quick succession. "Captain," Lieutenant Park said quietly, "at this rate, the Alliance will be defeated in less than 20 minutes. James nodded grimly. "Open a channel to Commander Rex." The screen flickered to show the Alliance commander's bridge, now filled with smoke and flashing emergency lights. Rex's blue face was streaked with darker blue blood. "Commander," James said calmly, "request permission for the Defiant to engage." Rex's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Your tiny vessel? What could you possibly—" "Permission to engage in whatever way humans fight," James interrupted. A massive explosion rocked the Alliance flagship. Rex grabbed his console for support and hissed, "Fine. Do what you want, human. We have nothing to lose." James cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations. Power up all systems. Let's show them what the Defiant can really do." The Defiant surged forward, its engines glowing with an intensity that surprised the Alliance observers. What had appeared to be a dull, outdated human vessel suddenly moved with the grace of a predator. "All systems at full power," Officer Wilson reported. "Weapons hot. Tactical systems online." Captain James leaned forward in his command chair. "Activate stealth plating. Target the 3rd Void vessel from the center." The Defiant's hull shimmered as panels previously indistinguishable from the rest of the ship's structure realigned, absorbing scanner waves rather than reflecting them. To the Void Empire's sensors, the human ship seemed to fade from clear view. "They can still see us visually," Lieutenant Park reminded. "But their targeting systems won't lock." James nodded. "Execute attack pattern Delta. Full thrust." The Defiant accelerated at a rate that should have been impossible for a ship its size. It darted between 2 massive Alliance cruisers, rolled 90 degrees, and slipped through a gap in the Void formation that their sensors had identified as a weak point. On the Alliance command channel, voices expressed confusion. Where did the human ship go? How is it moving like that? Their engines weren't capable of that acceleration. The Defiant dropped out of its evasive pattern directly behind a Void Empire destroyer. Before the enemy could react, the human ship fired, not with energy beams like the Alliance, but with solid projectiles accelerated to near light speed. The kinetic rounds tore through the Void ship's shields as if they weren't there. "Direct hit," Park announced as explosions rippled along the enemy vessel's hull. Their shields were calibrated for energy weapons, not physical impacts. Commander Rex's voice crackled over the comms. What did you just do, human? James ignored him, focusing on the next target. Bring us around, pattern Omega. Prepare EMP charges. The Defiant spun on its axis, diving beneath another void ship before launching upward. Small, disc-shaped objects detached from the human vessel, attaching to the enemy hull. EMPs detonating in 3, 2, 1. A pulse of blue energy washed over the void ship. Its weapons went dark, its engines failed, and it drifted powerless as the Defiant streaked away toward its next target. Captain, Wilson called out, the entire Void fleet is now tracking us. James smiled. Good. That's exactly what we wanted. A barrage of purple energy beams converged on the Defiant's position. For a moment, the human ship disappeared in a blinding flash of light and superheated gas. Human vessel destroyed, a Void commander announced over an open channel. Commander Rex lowered his head, feeling an unexpected pang of regret for the brave but foolish humans. Then gasps echoed across his bridge as the smoke cleared. The Defiant emerged, its hull glowing red from the heat but completely intact. What appeared to be standard metal plating was now revealed as an advanced shield system unlike anything the Alliance had developed. Impossible. Rex whispered. Captain James' voice came through clearly on all channels. Surprised? Humans learned long ago to mask our true capabilities. Our enemies always underestimate us, it's a tactical advantage. The Defiant's outer hull cooled rapidly as hidden heat sinks activated. Then the ship did something no Alliance vessel could do, it changed its configuration. Panels shifted, revealing weapon ports that had been completely concealed. Secondary weapon systems online, Lieutenant Park announced on the human bridge. Targeting enemy command vessels. The Defiant launched a volley of small, guided missiles. Instead of exploding on impact, they burrowed into the hulls of 3 void ships, then detonated inside. The enemy vessels shuddered, their systems failing as critical components were destroyed from within. What kind of weapons are these? Demanded a Void captain before his transmission cut out permanently. On the Alliance flagship, Commander Rex watched in stunned silence as the tiny human vessel single-handedly disabled 4 Void ships in rapid succession. Each attack used different tactics, different weapons, all seemingly designed to exploit weaknesses the Alliance had never even identified in their enemy. Sir, his second-in-command said quietly, the human ship is transmitting tactical data to us. They've identified vulnerable points in the Void vessel's shield matrices. Rex stared at the incoming data. Update our targeting systems immediately. All ships, focus fire on the coordinates the humans are sending. For the first time, the Alliance ships began to score meaningful hits against the Void Empire fleet. 3 enemy vessels broke formation, turning to retreat. Captain James' voice came through again, Commander Rex, shall we continue the demonstration? Or perhaps you'd like to coordinate our next attack? Rex's 4 eyes blinked slowly as understanding dawned. Captain James, please advise on optimal attack formation. We're listening now. The remaining Void Empire ships retreated, jumping to warp in disorganized panic. A cheer erupted across the Alliance fleet as the last enemy vessel disappeared. Captain James allowed his crew a moment of celebration before turning his attention back to the tactical display. This isn't over, he warned. They'll be back with reinforcements. As if confirming his prediction, long-range sensors began picking up new signals. Officer Wilson's expression darkened as he analyzed the data. Captain, detecting multiple warp signatures at the edge of the system. Void Empire configuration, but there's at least 30 ships this time. Lieutenant Park looked up from her station. They've adapted their shields. The same attacks won't work twice. Commander Rex's face appeared on the main screen, his expression a mix of concern and newfound respect. Captain James, our analysis confirms your assessment. The Empire is returning with a larger force. We request your tactical input. James nodded. The Empire now knows what one human ship can do. It's time they learn what several can accomplish. He turned to Wilson. Send emergency code Omega to Earth Command. Request immediate deployment of the Hunter Squadron. What are you planning, human? Rex asked. Something the Void Empire won't expect, James replied. Commander, can your damaged vessels fall back to defensive positions around the fourth planet? We'll need time. Rex hesitated only briefly before nodding. It will be done. But what are we waiting for? James simply smiled. Reinforcements. 3 hours later, as the Alliance fleet regrouped and repaired what damage they could, space rippled behind the Defiant. 4 warp gates opened, and through them came 3 human vessels, each one smaller than the Defiant but distinctive in design. HSS Thunder, HSS Phantom, and HSS Striker reporting for duty, announced a new voice over the comms. Hunter Squadron is combat ready, Captain James. The Alliance commanders watched in amazement as the human ships took position alongside the Defiant, each one powering up systems that looked nothing like the others. Thunder specializes in long-range artillery, James explained to Rex. Phantom has advanced stealth capabilities beyond even the Defiant's. Striker is our close combat specialist. He paused. Each human ship is designed for a specific role, Commander. Unlike your standardized fleet, we believe in specialized warfare. Rex studied the small but deadly human fleet. You've been preparing for this. Humans always prepare for war, James replied solemnly. Even in peacetime. It's our nature. The tactical alert sounded. The Void Empire had arrived. The Void Empire fleet emerged from warp, their formation tighter and more disciplined than before. 32 ships arranged in a spearhead pattern, clearly intending to punch straight through the Alliance defenses. They've reinforced their forward shields, Lieutenant Park observed. And modified their weapons to counter our kinetic rounds. Captain James nodded calmly. As expected. He opened a channel to the Hunter Squadron. Execute Formation Hydra. Thunder, take high position. Phantom, go dark. Striker, stand by for close engagement. The human ships moved with practiced precision. The HSS Thunder climbed above the battlefield, its long-range artillery systems powering up. The HSS Phantom seemed to fade from view entirely, using stealth technology even more advanced than the Defiant's. The HSS Striker positioned itself slightly ahead of the Defiant, its engines glowing hot, ready to charge. Commander Rex watched with newfound appreciation. Alliance fleet, form up according to human tactical pattern beta. Support vessels behind capital ships, weapons charged but held in reserve. For the first time, the Alliance ships and human vessels moved as a coordinated force. James noted with satisfaction how quickly the alien crews adapted to human battle tactics. All vessels hold position, James ordered as the Void fleet approached. Let them come to us. The enemy ships advanced cautiously, clearly wary after their earlier defeat. Their forward vessels fired long-range blasts at the Alliance formation, testing for weaknesses. They're scanning for the Phantom, Wilson reported. But they can't locate it. James smiled. Now. The battle erupted in a coordinated symphony of destruction. The Thunder unleashed a barrage of artillery fire from above, targeting the engines of the rear Void ships to prevent retreat. The Striker suddenly accelerated forward at impossible speed, diving through the enemy formation while deploying small, disc-shaped devices that attached to their hulls. Viral mines attached, the Striker's captain reported. Cycling their shield frequencies now. Throughout the Void formation, shields began to flicker and fail as the human devices forced them to rapidly shift frequencies until they burned out their emitters. The Phantom suddenly appeared behind the Void command ship, firing precision shots at weapon nodes before vanishing again. Meanwhile, the Alliance vessels, following James's tactical guidance, concentrated fire on the enemy ships with failing shields. 3 Void vessels exploded in quick succession. "Their formation is breaking," Rex announced. "Continue concentrated fire." The Defiant charged forward, leading a group of Alliance cruisers straight toward the heart of the enemy fleet. James stood on his bridge, eyes locked on the Void flagship. "All ships, focus fire on their command vessel. This ends now." The Void Empire flagship shuddered under the combined assault of human and Alliance weapons. Its shields collapsed in sections, exposing vulnerable areas that the human vessels targeted with surgical precision. "They're preparing to warp out," Officer Wilson reported, monitoring the enemy flagship's power readings. Captain James nodded to Lieutenant Park. "Activate the gravity anchor." A small smile crossed Park's face as she pressed a sequence of commands. The Defiant's lower hull opened, revealing a device that the Alliance had mistaken for a simple storage compartment. It pulsed with blue energy, sending out waves that distorted space around the Void vessels. "What is that?" Commander Rex asked over the comm channel. "A gravity anchor," James explained as Void ships struggled to engage their warp drives. "It creates a localized distortion field that prevents faster-than-light travel. They can't escape." Panic spread through the enemy fleet. Their formations dissolved as ships tried to flee in different directions, only to find conventional engines too slow to escape the combined human Alliance force. The Void flagship made one last desperate attack, directing all remaining weapons at the Defiant. James remained standing on his bridge as the barrage approached. "Activate reflector shields," he ordered calmly. The energy beams struck the Defiant, and bounced back, striking the Void flagship with its own weapons fire. The enemy vessel broke apart in a spectacular explosion that rippled through space. Seeing their command ship destroyed, the remaining Void vessels scattered, fleeing in disarray. Those that could still function limped away at sublight speed. "Victory is ours," Commander Rex announced, his voice filled with genuine respect. "Thanks to our human allies." 3 days later, Captain James stood in the Alliance Council chamber. Commander Rex addressed the gathered representatives of 17 species. "The human vessels turned the tide of battle using technologies and tactics we had never considered," Rex stated formally. "Captain James and his crew showed us that our complacency nearly led to our defeat." An elder council member leaned forward. "But their ships are so small, so simple in appearance." James stepped forward. "On Earth, we learned long ago that appearing weak when you are strong is the greatest advantage in warfare. We don't build our ships to impress, we build them to win." The council chamber fell silent as the words sank in. 1 month later, Alliance military academies added a new required course, Human Military History. The lecture hall was packed with alien cadets eager to learn from the species they once dismissed as primitive. On the wall hung a simple image, the HSS Defiant, small and unassuming, surrounded by the massive ships of enemies who had underestimated humanity for the first and last time.